Live from our studios at Northridge in Accra, good afternoon and welcome to Newsbeat. The bulletin is also live on DSTV channel 277, live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana and on Twitter at Metro TV GH. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Here are stories making headlines today. Of the Civil and Local Government Service Association refused to back down on their strike over demands for the government to pay their neutrality allowance. Ghana Water Company Limited clamps down on residents of Medina who have illegally connected pipes to their homes. And on the international front, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls for a ceasefire in Ukraine ahead of talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin in Moscow later today. Details are up shortly. Stay with us. Hello again. The Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, is currently holding a press conference to update the public on aftermath of their meeting with government yesterday. My colleague Ernestina is joining me live on phone for an update on that. Ernestina, welcome to the show. What more can you report?
Registrar General's Department saw some
was that they went into a meeting with government yesterday, and we were looking forward to hearing that they would call off the strike action. But then they indicated that government team led by Osafo Mafo, delegation from the Finance Ministry, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Employment and CLOGSAG, they went into the meeting yesterday. However, the meeting didn't end well for them, so they are still on the strike. They indicated that they have given a directive to the Finance Ministry to present a payment plan over the controversial neutrality allowance, which has been directed by the National Labour Commission. So they are expecting the Finance Ministry to present a payment plan to the National Labour Commission tomorrow. So after this payment plan is being given out to the National Labour Commission, that is when they will know their next line of action. Executive Director for CLOGSAG, Mr. Isaac Bampo Addo, indicated that negotiations and documentations of allowances have been included, and per their information, the National Labour Commission has instructed the Finance Ministry to pay them. He also indicated that he's heard news about some agencies and groups kicking against this request, neutrality allowance request that they are making, and he indicated that all these groups should go and sleep, and they are not ready to rebuttal or to reply them or to explain why they are calling for the neutrality allowance. But then they would only tell them that if they also need something like that, they should go to the negotiation table and negotiate for it themselves, but not to come up at this time that they are calling for whatever they need. They also indicated at the same press conference that they have an issue with Trade Union Congress, which is TUC. So they indicated that this year's May Day celebration, CLOGSAG is not going to celebrate the day with TUC. In every year, we see that CLOGSAG and TUC come together to have a big celebration of the May Day, but they indicated that they are going to be independent and do everything on their own. Ken.
Right. Interesting development there. Kindly keep us updated. Thank you very much, Ernestina. Now, meanwhile, some 36 organizations under the Public Services Workers Union are making a strong case for the payment of political neutrality allowance for qualified members. The groups are demanding urgent action for the allowance to be paid following a similar call by some public sector workers under the Civil and Local Government Staff Service.
You see, the neutrality allowance, by the name does not justify the allowance. The name neutrality allowance is not justified by the name. The justification for any allowance is done at the negotiation table. It's not done in the media. It's done at the negotiation table. That's where we do justification for whatever allowance. And that's according to the labor laws of Ghana. We went to negotiations. The government team was led by the master strategist of the government, Honorable Osafo Maafo, with his personal assistants. We had finance ministry there represented by Abina, the deputy minister of finance, with his technical people. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission were there. They brought two lawyers, plus their technical team. Employment was there. And of course, CLOSAC was there, led by my good self. Now, so if you people are saying that we have outwitted and played the fast one on them, it's negotiation. Then we should be congratulated for doing a good job. Because that's what negotiation is all about. And mind you, this neutrality allowance is only a minute part of our broader conditions of service. There are more goodies that we've already finished about 80%. We don't do double work. We're going to justify at the negotiating table, and then some people are asking questions. We don't do double work. Me, I don't do double work. If you want to do double work, you can go and do double work. But we don't do double work. We've justified whatever allowances that we've been given at the negotiating table. It's been signed and sealed. Signed and sealed. So if you don't understand, what? Go and sleep. Go and sleep. Go and sleep. Agbeda. 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 Toto Kasheno Beye Krapo Aniwo.
That's the leadership of CLOSAC there addressing the press. Meanwhile, some 36 organizations under the Public Service Workers Union are making a strong case for the payment of political neutrality allowance for qualified members. The groups are demanding urgent action for the allowance to be paid following a similar call by some public sector workers under the Civil and Local Government Staff Service. The Public Sector Workers Union in a statement mandated that it is pertinent to state that the grant of such allowance to a section of the workforce to the neglect of others in the same or similar category will defeat the underlying principles of salary administration in Ghana. The issue of neutrality allowance came to the fore following the strike by the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana for the payment of same. The neutrality allowance is paid to ensure that civil and local government workers do not engage in partisan activities while conducting their affairs when they are in their various offices. The statement noted that in their last National Executive Council meeting held in Kumasi in March 2022, members resolved to bring the request to the attention of the state for urgent consideration. Let's have a conversation on the back of this, and joining me via Zoom is John Sampah, the Deputy General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, who are also making a strong case for the payment of political neutrality allowance for qualified members. Thank you very much for joining me, John. What will be the justification for your demands? Hello, John. John, can you hear me? Right, we are trying to touch base with John Sampah, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, but unfortunately we've not been able to get to him. As of when we do get to him, we'll get him to answer some questions on that. Right. Now, a lawyer, Kweku Asare, has described managers taking neutrality allowance as pathetic. He added that the action should not be continued.
Civil servants pledge, take an oath to be neutral. That is the essence of the civil service. But because we have made that a political tool for the ruling government, because we have politicized not just the civil service, but we've politicized the army, we've politicized the police, we've politicized the media, we've politicized the schools, and so on and so forth. Very soon, if you are not careful, we have to start paying everyone some neutrality allowance just because they need to start thinking as Ghanaians rather than as partisans. It's a sad state of affairs, one that we should not countenance. I mean, the civil servants are entitled to fair pay, but to give them some allowance and title it as neutrality allowance, to me, it's almost like going to a church and paying the church members an allowance to remain religious, or going to a school and paying the students an allowance to take exams, and so on and so forth. We are at a very sad place in our country. There's too much partisanship, and there is time for us to put a break on this partisanship and start thinking as Ghanaians first and foremost before we do our politics. The days that I treasure most was when I was a student at the university, where we approached national issues as nationalists. We looked at a policy, we went on a looter because we thought the government was wrong. The government could not infiltrate into our ranks with milk and sardine and money and so on and so forth. We always thought about the country. That's what made me proud. And that's why till today, when I think about issues, it's very hard for me to allow partisan thoughts to dominate. I'm always thinking about what is good for the country. We are in a very dark place, because Randy, it's not just the civil servants, it's across the board. The judiciary, the security service, everything has been politicized. NUKS is no longer very powerful, because NUKS now has been divided into TESCON and TYNE, and it's hard for the NUKS to come together to even defend students' interests, let alone the national interest. So my short answer to your question is this neutrality allowance is sickening. There's no room for such a thing in our polity, but it is telling you where we are, and it is a reminder that we need to put a break on this partisanship.
Let's get back on Zoom and try to see if we can connect this time with John Sampa. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the Public Service Workers Union, who are also making a strong case for the payment of political neutrality allowance for qualified members. Thank you for joining me, John. What will be the justification for your demands? Hello, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Right. Carry on.
Okay, so the members of the Public Services Workers Union, that is which we have listed, are institutions that by their practice and code of conduct are barred from partisan politics. And they're following the public discussions and also development on the labor market. We have also requested through the Minister of Employment to the government for negotiation of political neutrality allowance. And that is actually the letter that we refer to.
Right. So are you demanding for this allowance because CLOCSAG is striking on this particular allowance, or you've already harnessed this allowance prior to the strike?
Okay, it is not because of the strike. But right from the beginning of the single spine, we all considered a number of things that should constitute our salary. At the initial stages, general things like risk associated to your work and certain disadvantages like non-participation in political work, and all those things were considered to be part of our salaries. And so we did not, at the initial stages, raise the issue. But once the matter has come up and we realize that the employer is very open to discuss and to the point of granting a section of the workforce whose work or mandate require that they stay politically neutral, we also look at some of our organizations. So for the PSW, the 36 we have listed are just a section of our members. For these 36, if you like, Electoral Commission of Ghana, NCCE, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Ghana News Agency, these are state institutions that by their code of conduct, by their practices, they are not allowed to be partisan.
Right.
In fact, there are even members that have lost their job because they contested political parties' primaries.
Okay.
And once we realize that the government is open for the discussion of political allowance, especially to a segment of the people, a reason for which it is because of being barred from partisan politics,
okay,
we thought it was right to bring our request also to the table and to negotiate, especially where it is clear that those organizations cannot also be partisan in their work.
John Sampa, thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon. Let's still stay on this matter, and joining me in studio is Emmanuel Abdul Salam, who is the Executive Secretary of Adam GH. He's one person who has vehemently been against the leadership of CLOGSAC. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Newsbeat. Tell us why you have been against CLOGSAC.
Yes, we are not against CLOGSAC. What we are saying is that all the union leaders in this country have failed us. They have failed us in the sense that if you look at the most vulnerable people today are government workers. Why are we the most vulnerable people? Since 2019, when we were struck with this COVID-19, workers have not received any significant salary increment. Now look at their acrimonies. My good friend John Sampa, he is my very good friend. You see, we came out as coalition against the leadership of TUC and organized labor, where CLOGSAC is part of organized labor. Why were we against them? Because they were not serving our interests. Today, CLOGSAC has taken the lead and has negotiated to secure 20%. That is excellent. For the argument that neutrality allowance is illegal and what of you, I think the people don't actually know what they are talking about. You see, if they want to argue on that way, I am an engineer working at a district assembly. I will build 2-3-story building. I don't take any allowance going to site, not even risk allowance. The minister who will visit my site one day will take height allowance, will take out of office allowance, will take transport allowance, and name them kilometric allowance, and so on and so forth. And I am, since 2019 up to date, I haven't received any significant salary increment. Look at the price of goods and services from 2019 up to date. It's almost 100%. I believe TUC, where my good friend John Sampa is part of them, should be negotiated for cost of living allowance, what they call COLA. And I bet you we should not get COLA less than 70%. If the price of goods and services has increased over 100%, TUC, it is their duty for them to forget about neutrality allowance and whatever allowance that has been secured by CLOGSAC, and go and negotiate for cost of living allowance. Workers can no longer survive with the current high cost of living. They shouldn't be playing this kind of, excuse my words, hypocrisy. We said they were not serving workers' interests, and people thought we are lying. Now, CLOGSAC has secured this, and they seem to also say, okay, we also deserve neutrality allowance. We don't even care about neutrality allowance. What we care for is cost of living allowance,
right,
which is now our burden.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I understand we still have John on the line to respond to this. John, how do you respond to this allegation?
Oh, I don't see it as an allegation. In principle, the Public Services Workers Union of TUC Ghana, we are not against political neutrality allowance that have been negotiated by CLOGSAC. In the labor market, one party may start something, but another person will also get an insight into it and they also negotiate for the same.
Right.
All we are saying is that if by principle government is open to motivating workers for their non-participation in political fortunes or political activities, the truth is that we also have people that are like that, and we are bringing our matter for consideration on the market. So we are really not against CLOSAC, and we don't think that political neutrality allowance is anything bad. Looking at it from different perspectives, you may have your own thought about it. But in the public service, not only in the public service, but even in the private sector, there are a whole lot of allowances that when they mention to you, you might think that it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But what we are looking for is putting money in the pocket of our members.
Right.
And therefore, if it is political neutrality or a different nomenclature, we have no problem at all about it. We are also bringing our issue to the table and actually negotiate hard on that.
Right, John, but Emmanuel is saying that you should demand for better than demanding for a neutrality allowance.
Okay, so I want to submit that during the pre-May Day forum, Dr. Yauba, who is the leader of the organized labor and the TUC, made clear statement that this year negotiation is just starting, it's just at the corner. And this year we are not taking anything below the inflationary rate. We are not taking anything below that. We are actually going to negotiate very well because our people has lambasted us on the 4% and the 7%. And I'm also one of the people that have actually spoken against the 4% and 7%. We have opportunity to negotiate against next year, and we are going to negotiate and negotiate well. Not only that, but we have other conditions of services that we are also negotiating. What is on the table now is political neutrality allowance.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that all other conditions that workers deserve,
right,
we will not negotiate as leaders.
Right.
Thank you.
John, kindly hold on for me. Emmanuel, so he's saying that they are going to negotiate for better conditions of service, but the neutrality allowance is what is on the table at the moment.
Yes, and that is what CLOSAC have secured, and we actually appreciate them for that. You know, I want to make a point clear. Last year, when they went to tripartite committee and they negotiated for 4%, was our inflation rate 4%? It was higher. And they gave us, they negotiated for 2021 4%, and this year 7%. This year inflation rate, is it 7%? So if they are now telling us that because of the 19.5 inflation rate this year, they are not going to get anything less than that, they have already failed workers. We expect them to even make adjustment of last year inflation rate, which they failed to meet the last year inflation rate, and they took something small, a peanut. At least if they are to add that one to this year's inflation rate, they shouldn't be mentioning anything less than the 19.5, but they should mention something around 30 to 40%, where maybe when they come down to 30 or 28 thereabout, that will be fine. But you are going to negotiate and you are pegging your benchmark on what do you call this year's inflation rate. It means TUC has already failed even before they go to the the tripartite committee.
Right.
And this is the reason why we say these people are not fighting for our interests. In fact, they don't know what Ghanaians workers what we are going through. We are actually toiling, and we need leaders who can actually represent us. We pay them our union dues every month, expecting them to give us better condition of service, and not to be to be in bed with government and be playing these political gimmicks.
Okay, Emmanuel, thank you very much. And to John also, thank you for joining us via Zoom. Now, persons who visit various public institutions are feeling the pinch of the strike by the civil and local government service staff. 3 days after members of the association laid down their tools to demand payment of their neutrality allowances, they are yet to reach a mutual agreement with the government. Ernestina Afake reports that the office of the Birth and Death Registry here in Accra remains locked as at the time of visit. Right, we'll bring you that story after this break. Stay with us. If you just joined us, this is Newsbeat on Metro TV with me, Kenneth Jesse. Let's bring you some more stories as persons who visit various public institutions are feeling the pinch of the strike by the civil and local government staff. 3 days after members of the association laid down their tools to demand payment of their neutrality allowances, they are yet to reach an agreement with government. Ernestina Afake reports that the office of the Birth and Death Registry here in Accra remains locked as at the time of visit.
Either to from government to pay members of CLOCSAC their 20% neutrality allowance, the office of the Birth and Death Registry is still under lock. Here at the Birth and Death Registry here in Accra, I could see a number of people around who are coming to do one business or the other, either to register for the birth or a death certificate. I have with me a man who is here to ask him what he's actually here to do. Good morning and thank you for joining us on Metro News.
Thank you too.
What's your name and what are you coming to do here?
I'm Chifu Kwame Manuel. I'm coming to do birth sets.
Where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Insawam.
And aren't you aware they are on strike?
Yes, I'm aware. Yes, I heard it on news that they have call off. So today I just came to see whether they are in office.
Okay, thank you very much. So are you frustrated or in any way or disappointed in any way?
Oh, I'm not frustrated. It's their rights. So they are fighting for their rights. So I'm not frustrated anyway.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Let me try and speak to another woman who is here. Hello, good morning. Please, what's your name?
My name is Benis.
Benis, where are you coming from and what are you coming to do here?
I'm coming from Medina and I'm coming to collect my birth set. But they said there is strike here. I don't know there is strike here. Yeah.
You didn't hear about the news. They announced on 20th. You didn't hear about it?
No, I didn't hear.
And if you didn't get it today, is it going to affect you in any way?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking to us. So still here at the Birth and Death Registry office here in Accra, the offices are still under locked with a notice here indicating that their offices, they are not working and their offices are going to be locked until further notice. Reporting from the Birth and Death Registry here in Accra, my name is Ernestina Afake for Metro News.
Thank you, Ernestina. Several customers of the Ghana Water Company Limited have been deprived access to potable water due to illegal connections. As a way of clamping down on the menace, the company is embarking on a mass disconnection exercise of pipes at Medina and Samampom that have been illegally fixed.
Supply from residents of Ajiringano and Obojo. So we took it upon ourselves to find out, because we do our work very well. We supply water to this area by our water management plan. But the water gets to certain places, it doesn't get to other places. So we had to go around and find what was the problem. We realized most of the water sellers in the district where we find ourselves, which we call the Northeast District, we have about 12 of such water sellers, and officially they have one connection. They applied, we connected only one line to them. But when we went around, we realized some have connected as much as 13 lines. So you have one legally connected pipeline and 12 illegal pipelines to tanks that are underground. And the situation is, once your tank is down, that means the water drains down into the tanks, and those who have their polytanks on top of their route, the pressure will never be able to build up there for you to get water. So in case they create shortage for our customers. Where we find ourselves, there are two water sellers here. The first one has 13 connections. If you will be going there, you see that the first original line we connected is just a 3/4 pipeline, but they have added 12 number pipelines draining water into lower pipeline tanks. The second one also has 10 lines to the tank. So when that happens, you realize the water ends here. Customers beyond this point will not get water to fetch, and then the complaints come back to Ghana Water Company.
Saturday, I am diverted. Until Sona by kitty, and so when I am nanti se bibini a mun kan che ye se ni se ohun ye ni mu na ye dwuma ohun yankọ wia ana yankọ ye legal connection bia anso uti de ameka na ase oh nti ni amu ba be ye ni dia me hu ni amenkampo.
Traders at Opera Square in the Central Business District affected by the fire outbreak are accusing the Chinese businessmen operating in the market for being responsible for the fire which destroyed their shops and goods. They are calling for investigations into the incident and perpetrators brought to book. Our reporter Derek Adote is at the scene of the fire and joins us live for an update.
Around 4 p.m. we know very well that the fire service, the Ghana National Fire Service, were here trying to put out the fire. But it took them some time to put it out, and as of this morning we realized they are still working on the building, as there is still some smoke coming out of the building, and so they are here trying to ensure that there is no spark left in the building. And as you can see in your shot, a lot of shops have been razed by the fire, properties destroyed, livelihoods destroyed, and traders are here. And we'll try and see if we can speak to a few of them on their losses and what they are asking of the government and what might have caused the fire, because the fire service has still not been able to tell us what caused the fire. They are investigating, and we've seen some officials here trying to investigate the incident. We've seen also NADMO officials around trying to assess the situation and try to see how best they can support the traders who are around here. And so we'll go on to speak to a few of the traders who are around here. Gentlemen, please, thank you for joining me on Metro TV.
Thank you too.
Please, your name?
I'm Prince. Prince.
Do you have your shop also razed by the fire?
Yes, actually we didn't get directly affected, but we are a little bit affected. We are down there here.
And what are you aware as to what might have caused the fire as of now?
Actually, the information reaching us was that there's a Chinese company at the top where actually it's a warehouse where they keep their stuffs, the rubbers, their things they use to do their stuff. That's where they keep it. So I think they were welding something. I think it started on Saturday. They were welding. I think it said when it rains, it enters, the water enters. So they were welding to seal the ceiling over there. That was the initial plan. So we were there around yesterday. That was around 4:30. Then we saw smoke, fire actually coming out of the building, and we were told to evacuate. So we came out of the building, and that was how it started.
But did you see the Chinese people you are talking about?
Yes, we saw them coming out of the building, from behind the building.
And where did they go? Where are they?
No, we don't know where they are currently. We don't know where they are currently. Since yesterday, around 6, I saw them here. I didn't see them again. I haven't seen them.
But have you lost some goods, and in excess of what?
Looking at the way things are, water has entered into our shop. We were allowed to open to see how the damage is, but there's a lot of water inside the goods. And looking at the things we sell, the electronic appliances we sell, water, it can't stand water and heat. So these things, we are praying that it doesn't get spoiled, but we are estimating a few things will get spoiled. That's our estimation, but not a lot as people think, not a lot.
And what will be your plea to officials who have come here?
We are pleading that the fire service has done really well. Let's recommend it. I've been here the whole time. When we called them, they came. They have been here all the time. But looking at the inefficiency, they are inadequate things they have. The things they have is not enough to help quench the fire on time.
Why is it that they came here unprepared, or they don't have the resources?
They came prepared, but the resources are not enough. They don't have enough. They don't have helmets with clippers. They don't have helmets with gloves. They have to borrow gloves from people. Just imagine, it's appalling. It's not good enough. So the pipes. Look at the pipes, are holes in the pipes everywhere. It's not good. It's not good. But they have really done well. Looking at the things they have used to quench the fire. So we are applauding them. But we are hoping that the government will help them and give them more stuff, because there's nothing that we can do. We just praying that it doesn't spoil a lot of stuff that has done at the top.
Right. So it took them time to daze out the fire, and we'll go on to speak to a few more traders. Hello, sir. Also, do you have your shop here?
Yeah, I have my shop here.
And were you also affected? Yes. Do you know the number of things that has been destroyed in your shop?
No, I can't explain it now because there's more water inside the shop.
So yours was not dazed by the fire, but that the work of the fire service putting water in there keeps entering your appliances?
Yes.
And so what have you been told about what caused this fire?
No, I think there's one of Chinese people. They are working at the top because the top is warehouse. So they are working there, and then later yesterday 4:30 they saw that there's a fire coming from the top.
These Chinese folks, do you know who they are whereabouts? Have they spoken to you guys?
No. Since yesterday I couldn't see anybody.
And so right now, what are you going to do?
I don't know what to do. They are just waiting for us to open the shop so that they know how they will do the water that enter the shop inside.
And what will be your plea to the officials that are around?
They are the same problem because they open the other shops. They are the same problem. There's more water inside the shops.
If you have any call to make to the government, what will it be?
I would tell the government that it should provide more materials for the the fire service so that they can do more. If there's a problem, they can fix it fast. Because if you watch their pipe, there's a lot of leakage in the pipe. So because of that's why up to now there's a more fire in there because of the pressure, because of the leakage. So there's no more pressure can stop the fire. Yeah.
So there is inadequacy when it comes to the work of the fire service today. Right. Thank you very much. We'll go on and speak to a few more traders who are around us. Hi, sir. Thank you for joining me on Metro.
Let's bring you some COVID-19 related story as Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje, has revealed that over 1 million vaccines representing some 4.4% have been disposed of since the start of the coronavirus pandemic.
If you look at our 2.4 plus million tests we have done, and that excludes those that are recorded. You know, there are times also the private sector, they were not reporting, only reporting those who turn positive, not those who are negative. So we have to actually have data collected to make sure we gather that data. Even then, that gives us currently about 79.8 per thousand. And like I showed in the previous slides, it's the highest, higher than the African average, it's the highest in the sub-region, in the West African sub-region. And so that one is clear. That is for those recorded. And even if we were to add a lot of the tests that were not recorded, our ratio would have been much, much higher. Vaccines discarded. There's always vaccine wastage. Either you discard, it breaks or whatever, or storage is not optimum and so you discard them. But there's a maximum, there's a percentage of 10%. The proportion that we have so far discarded is 4.4%. So we are way within the normal range of vaccine wastage that is acceptable. So it's 4.4, and that comes to really just about 1 million or so doses. But if you look at the fact that some of the vaccines arrive 2-3 months to expiry, it's expected that you will get some wastage along the things I talked about.
You're still watching Newsbeat. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. In business today, according to reports, Twitter is poised to agree a sale to Elon Musk for around $44 billion in cash. The price the chief executive of Tesla has called his best and final offer for the social media company. But analysts believe Twitter is a risky bet for the world's richest man. So let's have a conversation on this, and joining me in studio to delve more into this subject is Maximus Ametagu. He's a tech expert. Thank you very much for joining me, Maximus. One of the key things or key changes that are likely to happen to Twitter is the privatization of the company. Elon Musk has indicated that he would delist it from the stock exchange. What does that mean?
It means that it won't be owned by shareholders as in the public offer shareholding, but we still have owners who invested in the business. So I'm sure Elon Musk is not the only person who is investing his money into it. Right. So just like a privately owned company with directors or owners of the business, not as in using the public offer or the stock market to raise funds for the business.
Right. Another issue that is also likely to happen is the issue of free speech and content moderation. Elon Musk is likely to change that. He says that Twitter has too much control on free speech on its platform. How do you think that's going to pan out?
I think it's going to be a bit flexible, and it doesn't mean that they will not cure false information, because Twitter already have community guidelines as to how to use the platform. So if you're using it to promote false information, and I'm sure if they're able to know that they are using it, they are going to penalize you. But the fact that people's accounts were deactivated, he thought it was to the extreme, that you can allow people to even delete or edit their post and the rest, which Twitter does not even have. You can't edit your tweet. So when you post,
yes, we'll come to that.
So you can only delete that. But he thinks that people should be allowed to express their opinion, right. And he sees Twitter as a digital public square, for that matter.
Talking about expression of yourself on Twitter, one of the most prominent users of the platform was former US President Donald Trump, who was banned indefinitely. Do you think he's likely to be brought back to the platform if it becomes owned by Elon Musk?
It's possible his account may be reinstated, but I'm not sure he will come back actively as he used to, because from what I'm hearing, he's one of his consultants, right? One of the guys who work with him said he's not likely to come back to Twitter. So that may not happen. Right. But I'm sure some other conservative account holders will be given the chance to get the accounts back. Yeah.
One of the concerns that have been raised by people on Twitter is an edit button. People say they tweet something, it gains loads of retweets, and they realize that they made a mistake, but you can't edit it. You will have to delete and then retweet it again. Yeah. Twitter has indicated that it is likely to introduce an edit button, something Elon Musk also supports. Do you think it's a good idea? I think he was the one who has been pushing for the edit button. So those are some of the features and functionalities that Elon will introduce onto the platform after owning it. And he's a functionality designer. Almost every product or every sector he touches, he changes a lot of things. He disrupts the whole sector, and I'm sure he's going to do the same thing with Twitter. He's going to make sure that all the fake accounts and the bot accounts are deactivated, and he's going to authenticate all the humans on the platform. So those are the things he wants to do, and of course make the algorithm that is running the whole social media platform open source, so everybody knows how Twitter feed engine works. Right. Right. He's also mentioned about tackling cryptocurrency scams on the platform. Do you think he'll be successful in that? He started PayPal and sold it, started Zip2, which is a mapping platform, also sold it. So he's somebody who understands the sector very well. And for me, I'm sure Twitter, they've started NFTs and then Bitcoin and all that onto the platform. And he's a believer in cryptocurrency too as well. So I'm sure he's going to regularize or make it more user-friendly for those who want to use Bitcoins and other currencies on the Twitter platform. People have said that purchasing Twitter is a risky business for Elon Musk. Do you agree with them? I don't agree. Why? Elon will not take such a huge risk without knowing the consequences. He's done that with Tesla, he's done that with SpaceX and the rest. People didn't even believe you could reuse rockets. And he's built a rocket that you could reuse, right? Right. He has built all those things. So for me, he has thought about the functionality and then the kind of new features he wants to introduce into the platform to make it more compelling and competitive. That's why he went for it. Maximus Ametogu, thank you very much. He is a tech expert. Sports News is next.
Welcome back. My name is Phil John Quarty, and it's time for sports. Biche United failed to close the gap between them and Kotoko when they were held by Karela 1-1 in the final game of match day 26. Let's pick out the reaction from the coaches first. Kasim Okanse.
Oh, it was a very competitive game, especially in the first half. But in the second half, when they came, they did not come to play. They came to waste time, you see. So instead of playing 45 minutes in the second, we end up playing about 30 minutes of the game. The goalkeeper, a few occasions, he goes down, spend about 5 minutes, times 6 minutes, player goes down. It's not good for football. Let's play the game. Spectators should enjoy it. But don't play that tactics. It's not football.
I'm very happy for the boys. They worked hard, I told you. The tactical approach will be there, but it takes players to work so hard for it to happen or to work. And today, I give credit to the boys. They worked so hard. Tactically, we came with a game plan. It's just unfortunate, 76 minutes. I don't think it's a record. We saw him, he slipped. You know, he was not careless. It's not a foul play. He slipped. But it's just unfortunate for us to play 14 minutes plus 11 minutes against Biche United. The boys have done well.
That's your sports. My name is Phil John Quarty, and I am standing by for the latest in showbiz, my dear.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Now it's time for entertainment news. My name is Anaya Tanobwache. Now, multiple award-winning artist Famia has announced Friday, 29th April 2022 as the release date of his upcoming album titled Song of Peter. Famia shared the news and album cover via his Twitter account. The popular Ghanaian melodic vocalist Bon Peter Famia Bonza has decided to add to his already published bangers by releasing his second album after releasing Greater Than EP. The album will contain 12 tracks as well as various guest artists.
All right, stand by.
That's all on entertainment news. My name is Nanaya Tanobwache. Ken, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nanaya. International news is next. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for a ceasefire in Ukraine ahead of talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin in Moscow late Saturday. His first meeting Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, who has warned of a real threat of World War III breaking out. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba has dismissed this, saying Lavrov is just trying to scare the world off supporting Ukraine. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Have a good afternoon.